Hello everybody, this is Yoko's Anime Reactions, and this is going to be my review for 7 Deadly Sins Season 3, Episode 10. And in this episode, we finally get the backstory on, Meliodas and Elizabeth and this whole reincarnation curse thing that we heard about. And to add insult to injury on this one, the ones that cursed them were Meliodas' father and Elizabeth's mother. Yeah. Parent of the year, everybody. Or parents of the year, everybody, I should say. Because even if you don't like that your kid ended up with somebody who is essentially your mortal enemy, it should be, as long as they love each other and they won't betray each other, then it should be fine. But then again, this is the freaking Demon King and the Supreme Deity we're talking about here. And, yeah, they got their butts kicked in that fight. And when Meliodas wakes up after that, his injuries are gone. However, we can't say the same for Elizabeth. She is sadly dead by this point. And Meliodas has no idea about the curse because they didn't know they got cursed in the first place. Though he did notice as time went on that he didn't age. And he ends up running into Elizabeth. And I guess she was part of one of the savage tribes after that. And first thing he does when he sees her is he runs up and gives her a gigantic hug. And she obviously smacks the heck out of him because this is the first time that she's met him. Because he did say that every time she gets reincarnated, she forgets loses her memories of him, but ends up running into him again. And during that whole time, he got to know her again, she got to know him again, and they end up together again. However, she ends up regaining part of her memory, and, gets the ability to heal again. And Meliodas realizes that this actually is his Elizabeth. Because, the whole goddess side thing. However, once she gets all her memory back, she tells Meliodas about the curse and how it works. How essentially she'll end up dying in 3 days once she gets all her memory back. She'll be reincarnated each time. And she'll end up losing her memory of him each time, even though she will eventually run into him. So he ends up finding this out. And in 3 days, she does indeed die due to, I'm assuming, an accident. Or an attack or something. And she does die. And obviously, apparently, he says that he ran into her. She reincarnated, I think he said 106 times. I was like, Jesus Christ. Yeah, there was no way she could have only reincarnated 2 or 3 times. There was no way. Because every time she dies, she reincarnates instantly. So I don't know what the heck I was thinking. So yeah, Bond now knows that Meliodas knows exactly what he's going through over 10-fold. No, actually probably 100-fold. And each time he runs into her and she looks essentially the same, though with Liz she has red hair instead of silver hair. But yeah, anyway. He ends up running into her, and there are times where she gets her memories back easily, like a couple times where she's done it as a child, but obviously that does not go well, because like she said, once it gets her memories back in 3 days she dies, and one of them actually dies in a house fire. And no matter what, nobody can essentially protect her, essentially, from dying at this point once that happens. Though, now that I'm thinking about it, is it actually 3 days? Because if it's 3 days, if they're able to protect her until then so she doesn't die, does that cancel out the curse? Because if that's the case, I do have an idea on how they could fix this, or how they could prevent this from happening, but I'll mention that in a minute. And however, there are other times where he has encountered her and spent time with her and everything, But there are times where she doesn't regain her memories, and she lives a nice, long, and full life. Because there are at least a couple times where he does do that. And she does die, naturally. As an old woman. And now that I'm thinking about it, for the times that he was able to, be around her, at the very least, with her as a teenager. Have they had kids together in any of those previous lives? Because Meliodas has been the same age the entire time, so he's way old, essentially. Even though he doesn't technically age. So, have they had kids? And if so, were they half human, half demon? And if so, do the kids live long lives? Could they still possibly be alive? Or some of them, I say some of them because I think even then they probably wouldn't live as long as demons would. So it's a possibility that they could still be alive today. Maybe. And yeah, I'd love to know that. Does that ever get mentioned in the story? Manga or anime? Because I've seen, there was a video about, I don't know if this is the Imperial Dragons thing, or if this is something of a movie. But I did see a video of them in the future with Bon and Elaine, Deanne and King, and Elizabeth and Meliodas. Elizabeth had both of the goddess eyes. Obviously she survives this, because there's no way they're going to kill her off. And if I remember correctly, Bon and Elaine had a kid. I don't know about Deanna King. And Meliodas and Elizabeth were expecting. Is that the Imperial Dragons saga, or is that a movie that's popping up? Let me know in the comments. And if it's the Imperial Dragons, oh heck, I cannot wait on that one. Anyway, back to this. Let's see. What was I saying? I think I got myself confused. I got myself distracted. Anyway, the whole kid thing. I was wondering if they had kids at some point in any of those previous lives of hers. And I am wondering something. She has to regain her full memories for that curse to trigger. Correct? Is it her full memories as a goddess, or is it the memories of all her past lives? Because if it's a memory of all her past lives, then, oh boy, that could possibly kill her in itself, because that's just that'd be freaking overwhelming for your body to go through. That could probably break your mind if you're not careful. I would assume it's just your past memory of being a goddess. Right? Let me know. But yeah, he goes over, what happened with Danafall, and that he had been working with Merlin on this whole thing to try and figure out a way to lift the curse, because Elizabeth had asked him to lift the curse. And Merlin had suggested using the coffin thing to summon the Ten Commandments, because Zarathos has the power of the Demon King. And I immediately was like, that's not a good idea. 1, the Ten Commandments are going to go on a rampage. 2, yeah, you're not near as strong as you were back then, because you sealed away your power, and thus you would get your butt kicked trying to fight them if you had to. 2, Zarathos hates you right now. Especially with what you did against them with Elizabeth. So there's no way he would help you. There would be no way. And obviously Meliodas shot that down for those reasons. Anyway, the whole Liz dying in this one was because of Fraudrin. And you guys all remember him. And he was trying to actually activate that coffin to try and summon the Ten Commandments. Well, in order to do so, they would need a member of the blood of a member of the goddess race in order to do so. But, as we all know, the goddess race was sealed away, and thus there aren't any anymore. So he figured the next best thing, kill all the humans in Danafall and use their blood as a sacrifice. That didn't work. So he ended up seeing Liz because she was calling for Meliodas, trying to find him, and Meliodas was looking for her during this whole thing. And he realized who she is, but obviously this didn't trigger her memories. And he ends up killing her in the process, and Meliodas sees this and kicks the ever-living crap out of him. And ends up destroying Danafal as a result of her death, which we all knew had happened in the past. And somehow a woman and her baby had survived that initial blast. And she asked Meliodas to take her baby because she wasn't going to last much longer. And the baby was Elizabeth. So, yeah, he got reunited with That's where the baby came from, because we had seen memories of this in the past and wondered where he had found the baby. And the others actually asked him, after he explained all this, what would happen if they were to lift the curse. Well, obviously, Elizabeth would stop reincarnating every time she died. And Meliodas, I'm assuming he would start aging. I would assume he would continue living and aging as normal, or it would cause him to age all at once and die as a result, because he's been alive for over 3,000 years. Even being a demon, I don't know if he would be able to... No, actually, he is a full demon, so maybe he'd be fine. I don't know. But he wouldn't be immortal. So, like I said, there's a couple possibilities with that one. Either he would die as a result, because he would have been reincarnated, or not, he would have been revived so many times that his body would up and die, essentially. Or he would just continue living his life and age as normal. And if Elizabeth managed to survive that whole thing, then she would just continue living until, she eventually would die as well. And not reincarnate. So eventually, it would end up leading to both of their deaths. Eventually. But I don't think it would kill them. And anyway, while they're trying to figure all this out, they just head on to their next objective, which is to stop the distortion, which they think Malaskill is causing. But they have to head to another city because that's the source of it, and when they get there, who do you think is waiting for them? If you guess their address, you win. Yeah, and he's like commenting, so she hasn't died yet? And he knew this was going to trigger her memories, and that this would kill her. He knew, but I guess he knows about the curse. But, yeah, this triggered Meliodas to go off and attack him. I don't blame him, though. If somebody insulted my woman, or my partner, I would attack them too. Anyway. But yeah, here's a solution for this whole dying in 3 days thing. Once she gets all her memories back, it's 3 days, and then she dies. Why not have Merlin use her perfect cube spell? Because that thing essentially is impenetrable, I'm assuming from the inside and out. If at least from the outside. This could protect her, Elizabeth, from harm during that 3rd day until it ends. And unless she either she dies or unless she lifts a spell. 'Cause that's the only way I think to get rid of Perfect Cube. So why not have her use it on Elizabeth on that 3rd day, and you guys go and take care of what you gotta do with the demons. And if she survives throughout the 3rd day and into the 4th day, surely the curse has been broken, correct? Right? Isn't that how it works, or is it gonna kill her through a freaking heart attack? It did say she dies without fail, so it doesn't have to necessarily be a violent death, right? Actually, now that I think about it, this could actually... They might not be able to prevent it. If it doesn't have to be a violent death. If she just dies through a freaking heart attack, then there's nothing they can do to prevent it. But if it's a death by violence, then the Perfect Cube idea would be a good idea. So, I don't know. They haven't really mentioned what could, what constitutes, what could kill her. Because, like I said, if it's only a violent death, then the Perfect Cube idea would keep her safe. But if it's any kind of death, including a heart attack, then there's nothing they can do. Unless they can somehow... Because the only way to break the curse besides that would be somehow unsealing the goddess rice and asking the supreme deity, aka her mother, to please have mercy and undo the curse. Surely seeing her daughter happy, or seeing her daughter upset, would somehow move her. But then again, she didn't have any freaking mercy back then, so I don't know. Anyway, I don't know what else they could do at this point. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time.